What is going on, guys? I am Jonathan from Jarman Productions, and today I am bringing you the Denver Broncos season prediction on what their record will be and how the season will go. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to go through a run-through of each game, jotted down a couple things, couple of points that are going to either help or not help the Denver Broncos. And all right, so in Week 1, the Denver Broncos are going to be going against the Tennessee Titans, which the Denver Broncos went against and won last year. The score was 16-0. The Titans went 9-7 last year. As the season progressed, the Titans had a stronger running game. Derrick Henry absolutely put the team on his back and went crazy. He had something like 1,500 yards, somewhere around there. And the Denver Broncos' run defense is very questionable at times, especially losing Derek Wolfe and Adam Gotsis. And we don't have Domata Peko. I know I'm butchering his name, but we didn't have him last year. So the Denver Broncos' run defense is still going to be pretty shoddy. So last year, whenever the Denver Broncos won against the Titans, Marcus Mariota was in the game, not Ryan Tannehill. And so whenever Tannehill entered the game, or whenever he started playing last season, rather, he did a lot better than Mariota. And, they played a lot better. They damn near made the Super Bowl last year. So, I think that the Denver Broncos are going to lose that game just because of the run game and Tannehill's in the game and it's not Mariota. They're going to cause trouble for the Denver Broncos defense, and the Broncos are going to get to a rough start, going 0-1. So the next week, I don't really have much to say about this game. They're going against the Steelers in Week 2. So Big Ben, he's getting old. He's starting to get a little, I don't like this word, but he's getting washed up. And the Steelers, they did have a pretty rough year last year. They went 8-8. They almost made the playoffs. But the Denver Broncos' pass defense is still good. Still pretty decent. Because they've got Kareem Jackson still, Justin Simmons still, and I can't remember his name. That's great. Anyways, their pass defense is still pretty on par, if not above par. So I think that Big Ben is not going to be that much of a contributor to the Steelers on that day whenever it arises. They do have James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster. So the only reason that the Steelers will give the Denver Broncos any trouble is, if James Conner runs all over us. But I don't really see happening. So I'm going to give the Broncos a win on that one. So Week 3, we've got the Bucs. The Bucs went 7-9 last year. However, that was with Jameis Winston at quarterback, and now they've got Tom Brady, who is 42, I think, 42, 43. Dude is not playing that well. He only had 24 touchdowns last season. But that's still not entirely horrible. Last year, the Buccaneers were third in the league in points scored. So they've got that going for them. They still have Mike Evans. So, like I said, they've got that going for them. So, but ultimately, I think the Denver Broncos are going to win that one. It's going to be a dub, and the Broncos will be 2-1 on the year. So next up, we will have the Jets to face. They went 7-9 last year. Sam Darnold is playing very mediocre football. He might be a little above par, but he's pretty mediocre, pretty inconsistent. Le'Veon Bell is a dual threat, however. He had 461 reception yards last year and 789 rush yards last year. I do think he's going to pick it up. I think he's going to have probably about the same receiving yards and more rushing yards. I think he's going to get another 1,000-yard season. I think last year was just kind of a cohesion problem. It was his first year with the Jets, and so I think he's going to perform better. And they also have Adam Gase as their head coach, and that's negative already. We saw how he ran the Dolphins into the ground. So, and they just traded Jamal Adams, which leaves them very weak whenever it comes to their defensive back lineup. So I think that the Denver Broncos are going to come out on top on this one. The Broncos offense is going to be younger, and as long as everything works out, I think we'll be able to put up a good amount of. So week 5, we've got the New England Patriots. This one isn't looking good for the Broncos, just being completely honest. So a couple of things going for the Patriots. They've got a pretty fair run game. It's pretty solid. And their defense. Their defense is quite stout, quite good. Just to list a few names. They've got Stephon Gilmore, Dante Hightower, Jason and Devin McCourty, and Patrick Chung. So their defense is pretty rough. It's going to be pretty rough to score points on them. And they've still got Julian Edelman and Mohamed Sanu. And not to mention some guy named Cam Newton. You may have heard of him. He's crazy. The Patriots are going to be able to do so much more with Cam Newton than they were with Tom Brady. And I'm not knocking on Tom at all. He's the GOAT, obviously. But dude is slow. Cam Newton is a dual threat quarterback. He can run and he can throw. And I just think Josh McDaniels is going to have a field day with that. That's pretty much all I've got to say. That's going to be an L for the Broncos. That's going to be a loss. So that's going to put the Broncos at 3-2 on the year. Heading into week 6, we've got the Miami Dolphins. So, this all depends on one thing, and that's whether they've got 3 quarterbacks that they're going to be able to play on the roster. They've got Tua. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name. Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they've got Josh Rosen. So, who they play on that day is really, I think, going to determine whether they win or not. My guess would be is that they're going to still be playing Ryan Fitzpatrick because Ryan Fitzpatrick does really well in the beginning of the season, and then he starts to fizzle, and then he starts to get replaced. So at this time, it's going to be week 6. So I think that if Tua is playing, he's going to be too inexperienced, and they've got not that great of an offensive line, and that'll be a really big factor. The Dolphins' defense is very mediocre at best, barely on par. So they have the only really notable defender on the Dolphins is Xavier Howard, and he's a cornerback. Hey, he's good. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's a cornerback, so there's only so much that he can do. It's not like he's a lineman. He can, do multiple things. He's primarily going to be in pass coverage. So another positive for the Dolphins going in their favor on offense. It's going to be Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki. Like I said, whatever quarterback is playing that day depends on whether they're going to be an impact or not. Because if they're playing Tua, I think Tua's just going to be too panicked, and he's not going to be able to really deliver the ball like he should. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's been on teams with shoddy offensive lines his entire career pretty much, so I think he'll be able to handle it. He'll be able to handle the duress more than Tua would. So yeah, that depends on. That's another thing where the quarterback thing plays into. All in all, I think this is going to be a W for the Denver Broncos. So that will put us at 4-2 for the year. So next up, going into week 7, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs. And oh my God, I don't have much to say about this at all. They've got Patrick Mahomes. Ouch. They've also got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They've got a couple of pretty decent defenders. They've got Tyrann Mathieu. They've got Dee Ford, if he's still there. I'm pretty sure that he's still there. And then they've got a couple of pretty decent linebackers. I just don't think that the Broncos are going to be able to really get anything toward, get anything on the Chiefs defense. However, the Kansas City Chiefs defense last year allowed 11 yards per catch. So if the Broncos do get something rolling, they will possibly be able to get something on the Chiefs if the Chiefs start to slip up and the Broncos start to click. They also allowed 2,051 rush yards. So if the pass game falls through, then Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon will be able to pick up some of the slack because the Chiefs' defense really didn't change all that much. All in all, it's going to be a loss for the Broncos because it's Patrick Mahomes. He's there's just no winning there. Dude's going to be an all-time great. Moving on, Week 8, we've got the Falcons. So they've got Matt Ryan still, and he is still Matty Ice. He's still putting out some good numbers. They've also got Todd Gurley and Julio Jones. So the Falcons last year were 23rd for points against them. So that could be a point where the Denver Broncos could shine. Again, this all depends on if the offense is able to get going early in the year. They were 13th in points for, and the Denver Broncos were 10th in points against. So the Denver Broncos could really step up and maybe control Matty Ice. But they've got him and Julio to tear the Denver Broncos defense up. So I've got that as a loss for the Broncos. That will put them at 4-3 on the year going into Week 8, I think. I don't know. I may have misspoke. Anyways, we're going against the Las Vegas Raiders. So they were very, very mediocre last year. They were 24th in the league in both points for and against, which is subpar. It's on the subpar level. Derek Carr still threw for 4,000 yards. So, he's fine. They do have mediocre receivers aside from Henry Ruggs. They drafted Henry Ruggs. Aside from him, they really don't have any receivers especially since Michael Crabtree is not there anymore. Okay, well, my camera just died, so that's cool. I think I left off on Michael Crabtree. Michael Crabtree is not there anymore. I don't think he is. I'm going to look that up real fast. Okay, I was correct. Michael Crabtree is he's a free agent right now. Okay. The Raiders do have Josh Jacobs. Again, Denver Broncos rush defense is not all that great. So that could be another or one factor to sway the outcome. However, I have got the Denver Broncos taking this one. So that puts us at 5-4. That puts us at 5-4. All right. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So next up, they've got the Los Angeles Chargers. They were 5-11 last year. They lost both games to the Denver Broncos last year. They also lost Phillip Rivers, longtime quarterback. They lost Melvin Gordon. He's now on the Denver Broncos. They do still have Keenan Allen, and they gained Chris Harris Jr. in free agency this year. I think this is going to be a W for the Chargers. I just don't think that I don't think they have the firepower to defeat the Denver Broncos. Next up, in Week 11, we've got the Saints. They've got Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees. They were third in the league points-4 last year, and they were 13-3 last year. And I think they're still going to carry that same energy over into this year. And ultimately, that's going to be an L for the Denver Broncos. Will put us at 6-5. So going into Week 12, we've got the Chiefs again. That's going to put us at 6-6. Broncos are losing that game as well. So in the next game, going into Week 13, is going to be the Carolina Panthers, who were, I don't have it, they were not that great last year. They did have Christian McCaffrey, who absolutely carried the crap out of them while Cam was injured and out. They do have Teddy Bridgewater. He came over from the Saints, so that's going to be definitely a positive point for them. They had a tough year last year, so I don't really want to judge them based on how last year was, but it's kind of hard not to. Luke Kuechly retired. They also have Eli Apple as their only really notable defender. So I think that's going to be a win for the Denver Broncos. That will put us at 7-6 on the year. Going into Week 14, we've got the Bills, which I've got very, very mixed feelings about. But they've got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. They acquired him in the trade with the Vikings. They also have Cole Beasley. Their defense is very stout. I don't think I listed any of them, but their defense is pretty rough. Here we go. So they've got Micah Hyde, Tremaine Edmonds, and Tre'Davious White, just to name a few. So another one of those where it matters whether or not the Denver Broncos play well or not. I'm just going to say that they play mediocre in this scenario, and I'm going to give that win to the Bills. That will put us at 7-7 on the year. So the last two games of the season are going to be against the LA Chargers and the Las Vegas Rams, and I do think those are both going to be wins for the Broncos, and that will put us at 9-7 on the year. I think the Broncos can be really they can be a lot better in 2020/2021 if the season even happens. And so I think that a couple of the games can be swayed. They can happen one way or another, and so we could very easily come out with a 10-6 record or an 11-5 record, but I just don't see that happening. Those guys are so young, and they haven't had enough experience together to really do much. So I think that 9-7 is going to be a pretty safe bet for the Denver Broncos this year. So yeah, guys, that concludes it for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. If y'all are still here till the end, I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much. My next video will be the DJI drone review. It'll be over the Mavic Mini. So that will be coming soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support.